really hone down and talk about social media and its application to recruiting specifically, and talk about an example of a implementation that we worked on with a recruitment agency, actually. So just before I get into that, just show of hands, agency recruiters? And what about corporate recruiters? And the rest are just recruiting groupies. You want to be recruited? So that's what we're going to talk about. So why does all this stuff really matter? You know, Phil referred to a couple of really important trends. With the evolution of online social networks, talent has become extremely visible, which allows, particularly from an agency recruiting perspective, employers to connect directly with the talent pool. So, you know, this as agency recruiters should be, you know, a pretty important consideration for your business. If fundamentally or historically employers were paying agency recruiters fees because we were able to get to talent that employees couldn't get to directly. And now that they have the ability to connect directly with the talent pool, you know, my view is that there's a huge risk for third-party agencies if we as agencies don't evolve our businesses to ensure that we continue to deliver extra value to that customer, and ensure that we're using tools, processes, methodologies that employers can't use on their own. So I think that's an important consideration. Employers are becoming also much more sophisticated around their expectations for what their suppliers are doing from a sourcing perspective. So no longer is it okay to, you know, post a job on Seek and potentially search your own candidate database, and that's the extent of your sourcing strategy. Employees can do that themselves and do a number of other things. As Philip mentioned, the supply and demand equation is very much in favour of the job seeker, and the important thing to understand is to be able to position opportunities, engage with job seekers to ensure that you have a higher probability to be able to convert interest for you know, the jobs that you're trying to recruit for, whether you're a corporate recruiter or an agency recruiter. And, you know, lastly, unfortunately, recruiters don't have a great reputation. So how do we use social media as a tool to be able to increase the credibility of what we do, engage in conversation, connect, etc., etc. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I'd like to, where is he? Michael Speck. So this is one of Michael's slides, so thanks, Michael. 4 C's of social media. So it's all about conversation, collaboration, content, and you know, connecting with both clients and also your candidate community. Social media can be used in a number of areas of the recruiting process. I've eliminated one area that was here originally, and that's around, you know, the offer stage, because I'm a little bit suspect about any of that information typically getting into the public domain. But if you think about the attraction phase of the recruiting process, how can you utilise social media to attract and pull you know, the candidate community towards your brand? And David at Oracle is a really great example of you know, using a blog to really build community around your brand and start attracting the talent pool towards your business. What we're seeing from a social media standpoint at the moment is that you know, most recruiters are using LinkedIn, for example, fundamentally as a sourcing tool. So we're going out there, we're using, you know, potentially sophisticated Boolean search strings to, you know, hack into LinkedIn from a search engine to find public profiles for people, and then we're able to go out and talk to these potential candidates about opportunities that we're working on. So, you know, what we've seen throughout our work and a lot of discussions that we've had with both employees and also recruiters is that from a social recruiting point of view, there's a view that if we use LinkedIn and potentially, you know, Twitter from a sourcing perspective, then we have some form of social media strategy for recruiting. The engagement piece to the process. This is where the development of content that contributes value to the candidate community that you work with consistently is a really important piece. So again, we'll refer to the development of an external blog that will give you some thought leadership around the particular niche that you're recruiting, some ability to kind of influence in an industry that you operate in regularly. And obviously, we've got the last piece there is the screening component. So how do you use social media from a screening point of view is something else to consider. It is the future, but it's not a silver bullet. As Kelly mentioned, it's important to think about the sourcing process as a multi-channel sourcing process. So social media would be one of those strategies that you would apply to a particular recruiting assignment. And I really like this tweet from Greg Savage. I'm not sure if any of you guys read his blog. He's an industry veteran. He doesn't mind me. And I just thought, when I read this, I thought it was spot on. It seems to me that the opportunity for recruiters from social media is less about gossip or even recruiting, but more about influence. And that kind of, for me, is what it's about. What we used was the particular framework to implement this strategy for this client that we're in particular. And if you haven't read this book, I really urge you to go out and get it. It's a really great book to give you some foundation about why a lot of these tools and technologies are really important. So that's the framework that we use. So initially, we took a step back from recruiting and social media, and we talked to this customer about their business. So let's understand what your business strategy is. We understood what the business plan was. We wanted to understand why social recruiting, what were the objectives, why would you use a lot of these social tools for your business? We took some time to understand the different brands that they had within their business, the industry sectors that they operated in, to really get a good stronghold of the type of candidates that they would engage with, and obviously the kind of clients that they would be talking to. So then we took some time to look at the org structure, because and we'll move on to some of the recommendations that we made later in the presentation, but we recommended some fundamental changes to the org structure. So there are, a lot of agency recruiters will have the consultant managing, a 360 recruiting process, so they basically do everything. You have some agencies, and I think Expand have gone down this path. They have built an internal research and sourcing function. You've got, RPO providers like HRX that have dedicated sources that are in their business. So we made some recommendations around a particular position within the org structure, and that was, a fundamental shift in the leadership's thinking about the way their business approaches their customers and their candidates. And also we wanted to evaluate, how committed were they to really implementing this strategy? Did they have the resources, the project lead, etc., etc. People. So it was important for us to dig a lot deeper in terms of the clients that they engage with, the profile of those clients, typically the decision maker profile, etc. And similarly, from a candidate perspective, what was the demographic profile? What was the online profile of these people that they're trying to attract and trying to recruit?